Welcome back for another reaction. Today we are going to look at 5 craziest things Americans have said to me, a British person. Lost in the Pond, alright? I like that channel. I haven't seen this yet. We're going to see if it's really crazy or if you just don't know what the fuck we're saying. Alright, so let's go ahead and check this out.
It marks the 10th anniversary of this channel. And to celebrate, I've been looking back at some of those early videos and asking myself, if I were to remake any of these today, what would they look like? And one of those videos was this one. 5 surprising things that Americans have said to me. When I made that video, I'd only lived in the country for 7 years. I was practically a novice. But now, 10 years later, I have a much larger back catalogue of the strangest, weirdest, and sometimes dumbest things Americans have ever said to me. Now, I don't want you to think that this is just some unnecessary pile on against Americans. After all, I think my American wife would make the reverse video about British people. Plus, I also make dumb comments. We all do. We're human and mostly stupid. But since this channel is about my life in America, it's time to put Americans to the sword. And if you're okay with that and you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, do that now. This first one wasn't so much dumb as it was just weird. One day, while I was really busy surfing the internet at work, one of my colleagues turned to me and said, "Lawrence, do you know what my favourite British word is?" I said, "No, because I'm not a mind reader. What is your favourite British word?" And their favourite British word was bumbershoot. Now, this was a surprise to me because I'd lived in Britain for 26 years and I'd never heard the word bumbershoot.
You ain't the first one.
What does bumbershoot mean? Oh, you know what bumbershoot means, British person. It's another word for umbrella. So, since I was already surfing the internet, I thought, oh, well, why don't we Google this? So I did. Bumbershoot, a word of American origin. That's curious. It's like my colleague had heard the...
That's not an American word. I don't give a shit what the internet says because I have never heard it ever in my life. I'm 44 years old. I've never heard bumbershoot. We just say umbrella. What the fuck are you talking about? All right, so just some random weirdo. That's an outlier of society, right? They're the weirdos that we don't talk about, right? So that's what it sounds like spoke to you because nobody I know, and definitely not me, have ever said bumbershoot, right? That's the dumbest shit I ever heard.
Word bumbershoot and thought, that sounds whimsical, it must be British. But then she said, I heard Dick Van Dyke say it in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. That makes sense, because we all know that Dick Van Dyke has a history of accurately depicting British culture. Anyway, I told her to look up another British word for umbrella, brolly, which might have become her new obsession. I don't know, because I never spoke to her again after this incident. You know, as a Brit living in America, I've had to adjust to many American quirks. Driving on the wrong side of the road, flag waving on every front lawn, and this obsession with cold brew coffee. At first I thought, why would I spend $6 on coffee that isn't even hot? But then summer's here in the...
First off, I used to hate the idea of cold coffee, right? Because I've been drinking coffee for a long time, right? I used to just drink it and then add sugar and then cream, and then, you know, that, mix it up and then drink it at like truck stops and stuff like that, you know, in restaurant. And eventually I graduated to coffee creamer, you know, and hazelnut is one of my favorites. But if cold coffee was never something that I would have touched when I was younger. But there's a place locally, it's the Orange Cup, and they have a thing called the Chubby Cow, and that is one of the most delicious frozen blended coffee drinks, and I get it as much as I can. So, all right, let's see what he said.
West convinced me that cold brew equals survival. Attending a farmer's market, which is just something that happens to you once you hit 40. I'm walking along, minding my own business, when a man with a clipboard smiles at me. And when that happens to an introvert, there's only 2 things you can do. Pretend to be interested in what he has to say, or pretend to look at onions. But this guy was savvy. He knew that people didn't look at onions if they were already carrying them. So he pulled me into his sphere of influence with 3 terrifying words. Hey there, buddy, like I'm a dog. I was so mortified that I don't really remember remember what I said next, but it was
That's when I
something along the
respond,
lines
fuck
of,
off.
sorry, my wife handles our finances, and if she weren't on the other side of the market buying lingonberries, she'd tell you we're not interested. Before I could say those words, he allayed my fears by paying me a compliment. Dude, that is one awesome t-shirt. For context, I was wearing this t-shirt, and even though I knew he was using a well-known sales technique to manipulate me into funding his uncle's pyramid scheme, I appreciated his taste in presidential caricatures. But then he said something really dumb that made me mentally want to rip up the contract that he probably wanted me to sign. He pointed again at the shirt, and without a hint of irony, he said, Is that you? I was stunned. I mean, surely he hadn't
that guy's
been
an
able to
idiot.
recognize one of the most famous people in history, plus the guy on my shirt. No, I said.
You know,
"It's
American
definitely
saying is
Abraham
that you,
Lincoln."
well, I mean, it could be.
He said,
the
"I did
education
not
system has gone
recognize him with
downhill.
those funny glasses on." And while I appreciated his attempts at paraphrasing Lois Lane, I still question whether he recognized Abraham Lincoln at all. Sadly, I never got to find out because at that moment, my wife turned up with a bag of lingonberries and told him we're not interested.
Let me tell you, not all Americans are that stupid. There's only specific areas. And politically, unfortunately, you have to talk politics for such a thing. There's certain places where, I mean, they don't know how to use the correct bathroom. Okay, that's the state of American education. All right, so let me just leave it there with that. So there are people, but these people are from those areas.
On this channel, I use the word Britain a lot, usually just as a shorthand way of saying either England, United Kingdom, what have you. When in reality, Britain has a very precise definition: Scotland, Wales, and England, because that's what Britain is. Basically, it's this part of the British Isles. And there was an American in the comments who thought they knew better than me, who said, don't forget about Ireland. And actually, I think this might be a common misconception among Americans. And to be fair, it is all a bit confusing, because contrary to popular belief, Ireland is part of the British Isles, which is defined as Britain plus Ireland and Northern Ireland and the seas that are around it. And I suppose the other part that really causes confusion is that we have the United Kingdom. That itself is different from Britain and does include Northern Ireland, but not Ireland. Even I'm confused now. So then he said, no, look at your passport. It says the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Clearly Ireland is part of Britain. And they somehow couldn't figure out that what that meant was the United Kingdom.
No, that's not what they meant. It's your comprehension is a little off. I mean, Americans, you know, they're pointing at, like as he said, at your passport. That's all it is. And frankly, we don't care. Like we literally just don't care. It's not that we don't know, geography or whatever. We just don't give a shit. There's certain people that do, and they are in that profession, or they love that topic. Like if you love video games, you're always going to be talking about video games. If you love history, that's what you're gonna know, and that's anywhere, any country. So that's all it is. It's not crazy or stupid or whatever. It's just that we just don't give a shit. And so, if we don't give a shit, we're going to just make observations based on what we see. It's like that guy just said, look at your passport. That's all it is.
Is literally that. It is the unification of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. And Ireland has nothing to do with any of it. It's its own country under its own jurisdiction. It didn't fight in World War II. They prefer the word soccer, and their passports look like this. So no, when I'm defining Britain, there's no reason that I would include Ireland or Northern Ireland or anything Irish whatsoever. And you know what? The Irish people prefer it that way. Actually, a lot of Scottish people don't claim to be British, or Welsh people.
I said we don't care.
It's just the English. About 92% of the dumbest stuff that's ever been said to me was said when I worked in a call centre. And for those of you who don't know, a call centre rep's career begins with about 4 weeks of training. And this is to prepare you for life on the floor, where you will take several calls and contract many diseases. And one day our trainer was recounting this story of a customer who wanted an international phone plan because she was flying to Amsterdam. Now, one of the chatty people in the class, because all classes have them, asked the question, where's Amsterdam? And that is not the other part that took me aback, because at least that person had the curiosity to ask the question. What took me aback was the trainer's response. He said, "I'm not sure, but I think it's in England somewhere. Anyway, that's not important." And I'm like, hello, it's important to me, because if I'd have known that England had those kind of cafes, I wouldn't have spent £300 on a ferry. Sadly, nobody seemed to get the joke, so I explained, Amsterdam is the capital of the Netherlands, and yes, it's legal over there. And that same chatty person looked in my direction and said, "What's legal over there?" Well, that put me in a rubbish position, because now all of the eyes were on me. Would it be a wise move to utter such a taboo word in a training class like this one? And then I remembered I didn't really want the job anyway, so I just said it. "What's legal over there? Education." Eventually, I made it out onto the floor, and let me tell you, all of the training in the world couldn't have prepared me for working in a US call center.
I mean, there's some Americans who just don't like weed, and they think they're better than us. That's all it is.
"You sound like that Simon Cowell guy."
To, "Do you have a brother who's single?" But the weirdest comment I got wasn't about my Englishness, but actually the lack of it. And I hesitate to call this a dumb comment, because it came from a sweet old lady who generally seemed confused as to who she was or why she was calling. But while attempting to verify her details, she interrupted me and said in a slow southern accent,
"I'm so sorry, sir, but I'm having a hard time understanding your accent. Could I please talk to somebody who speaks English?" She sounded exactly like that. And as an English person, I'd never had my grasp of English questioned before.
Necessarily
I certainly empathised with Scousers.
"I am literally English."
You know, lady, she probably didn't know.
Enunciating each syllable like
Literally,
I myself
she
was
probably
talking to somebody who couldn't understand
has a
English.
failing hearing
Could I
aid.
have you confirm your billing address? There was silence on the other end of the phone. Was it the way I was saying address? Excuse me, your billing address. The line was still active, but she remained silent. Had my incomprehensible accent sent her to an early grave? Suddenly, another voice came on the line.
The accent.
Her daughter.
"Hi, this is Peggy. Perhaps it'd be easier if I talk on my mother's behalf."
It doesn't matter how clear you speak, it's the little twang in the voice, right? Just like that southern accent sounds weird to you, and you might not even catch every word. You're like, what the fuck did they just say? Same thing with other, accents, all right? That's just the way it is. So it's funny, it's funny you speak English, but I mean, that's the default. We're tired in America of basically getting customer support in like India and shit like that, and you're trying to decipher what a motherfucker's saying. And they got a strong, heavy Indian accent, and I'm talking about, thank you, come again, that sort of shit, right? So, I mean, obviously it's not as bad when you're pronunciating your words and all, but the sound of how you're saying things is going to trip up an old person with a failing hearing aid, right?
Family, they all sounded really weird. And this brought its own set of problems, because in order to speak with Peggy, I had to get her mother's verbal permission. How would I do that without an English-to-English translator? And then it hit me, I could temporarily hire Peggy for the role. "Peggy, put me on speaker so your mother can hear both of us."
"Okay, can you hear me?"
"Yeah, now ask her this. Do you give the gentleman permission to discuss your account with Peggy?"
"Do you give the gentleman permission to discuss your account with Peggy, with me?"
she said with surprising fluency. Her mother responded with yes, the English word for yes. Finally, we verified the address, which meant that I could now move forward with the next question on my script. "And how can I help you with your cell phone service today?"
"Wait, did you say cell phone service? I'm trying to reach the 700 Club. I'm sorry
That's
to waste
funny.
your time, sir. Goodbye."
So those are some of the wacky things Americans have said to me. Let me know some of the top ones you
Okay, that was funny.
But, keep it civil. And in the meantime, continue your heroic journey through my back catalogue by going...
I'm not touching your back catalog, good sir. Keep your back catalog in your pants, right? Yeah, but that's funny. That's funny with the old lady. Where's my other beard comb? All right, my desk has changed. All right, and I only have one beard comb right now, and it's the dark gray one. I got a red one too, but I'm feeling a little naked without it. Anyway, drop a comment about me talking shit. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. I'll see you in the next one. And if there's something you want me to react to, drop it in the comments. I'll check it out. All right. Peace.